Okay. You're on.
So today, I am going to be talking about what makes a good research question. This is the essential question. It is the first part of a unit, but it is kind of a standalone lesson, and the block is 40 minutes. And it is in library with 3rd grade. So I don't think I'm necessarily going to talk to you guys like 3rd graders, but it might go that way. So today I want to talk about what makes a good research question, and our objectives are going to be to differentiate between thick and thin questions, also known as open or closed questions, and create our own thick and thin questions. And our goal is to learn why thick questions are better for research purposes. And this is the agenda for the day. So I want to welcome everyone to the library, and I've gone over the essential question. And we're going to talk a little bit about why research is important and what that is, and thick and thin questions in a presentation. And then you guys are going to do a KWL, which is what I know, what I want to know, and what I learned. And we're going to start with the first 2 parts. So what you know and what you want to know about thick and thin questions and research. And then at the end of the lesson, we're going to do the what I learned section. So save that for later. And we're going to also do an activity on differentiating between the questions, so deciding which one is a thick question and which one is a thin question, and that's on the worksheet. And then we're going to do an exit ticket, and you're going to write your own thick and thin questions, so I know that you understand what the lesson was about. The vocab is over here if you want to look over at it at any time during the class, and you can ask me questions to clarify that. So, I want to talk about what makes a good research question first, and we went over our agenda, so KWL, group activity, and our wind down. So this is the worksheet that you guys have, and I want you to write down at your table one thing that you know about what research is or what a question is, and one thing about what you want to know. And then leave the 3rd section blank. So for an example, what I know, research is used for finding answers. What I want to know, how to create a good research question. So I'm just going to go into what is research a little bit, just so we know why this is important. It's a process we use to discover new knowledge, a way to establish or confirm facts, and a way to solve problems and find solutions. And we're now going to go into thick versus thin questions. So what is the difference between a thick and thin question? So thick means thinking. This means that you need to put in more effort for a thick question. It's generally longer, it's generally more detailed, and it makes a better research question because it has those qualities that make it an open question, and they make your mind open as well. So, a little bit about differentiating thick and thin questions. Thick questions are often yes or no questions. You can answer them with a simple answer. They have one answer, and they help you clarify and understand the text, so it makes it easier, simple, and shorter. And that can often indicate the 5 W's, who, what, when, where. Not generally why, but how many is a good one to think about. And you can also point to facts in the text when you're looking at a closed question. So, yes, a closed question. So you don't need to analyze it as much, and you don't need to concentrate as much because you can find it in the text. So a thick question is generally, it's not a yes or no question. And a lot of the phrases that you can work with for thick questions are how come, I wonder, what does this mean, and why is it important? Because that makes you think more, and it makes you have to understand what you're reading to formulate a question about it. It's usually more than one answer, harder to answer, and has more detailed answers. So a little analogy I wanted to come up with was the burger. So when you're thinking about a thin question, on top of the who, what, when, where that you're finding in the text, you can point to this and it's simple. So it's like a little burger patty, and you can think of it that way, where there's nothing really on it, and it's right there in front of you, and it's simple. And then for thick questions, they make you think and make your understanding of the subject deeper, and they're more complex. So you can see like the big burger, and that will make you kind of think that, you know, there's more going on, so that's a thick question. So why do we use thick questions for research? They lead to deeper thinking, connect to background knowledge, require further discussion, and deal with concepts and big ideas. And that is something that we're going to talk about in a second when you guys formulate your thick questions for me. So I want us to work in groups of 2, and you can fill out this sheet for whether you think the questions below are thick or thin, and I'll be walking around to help you if you have trouble. And you just write on the line whether you think it's a thick or thin question, and I want you to remember that thick equals thinking. So which ones of these require more thinking and which ones don't? So we'll do the little bit of an activity. And then, well, before the exit ticket, I want to ask some questions. So after looking at this presentation, I want to go over, I have room on the board, some of the questions. So B, do you think that number 2, what is a pilgrim? Do you think that's a thin or a thick question?
Well, I know it starts with what, but I think it's really a thick question.
You think it's really a thick question?
Yes.
Okay, can you elaborate? Can you tell me why you think it's a thick question?
Well, because there's multiple ways that I could answer it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like a one word. Like, I could really explain about like what a pilgrim is and why they're pilgrims and, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but isn't a pilgrim, you could look that up in our text, right? A pilgrim.
Yeah, it could just be a definition,
Mm-hmm.
but it also could be.
Okay, but can you find it in your text in class? A pilgrim's a Puritan.
In this book.
Mm-hmm. So that would make it what kind of question?
Okay, it was a thin question.
Okay, and let's go to number 7. Did the Pilgrims cross the Atlantic Ocean? Molly, can you tell me if that's a thick or a thin question?
It's a thin question.
Okay, why is it a thin question?
Because it is a yes or no question.
Good. Okay, and Jody, can you tell me if number 9, what changed over time for the Pilgrims? Is that a thick or a thin question?
Thick question,
Okay, why do you think it's a thick question?
because I'd have to think about it.
Okay, yeah, you are right. So when you're thinking about your questions, when you're thinking how come, why is this important, you have to remember that that's a thick question because you're using your brain. You're not just looking, you're analyzing the text. So you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out what's important, and that makes you have to think harder. And then that way, once you understand how to make thick questions, you can understand how to make good research questions overall. So I thought that went really well. I want you guys to take your exit ticket in our last 5 minutes and write 2 thin questions about the Pilgrims and write 2 thick questions about the Pilgrims. And I know you guys talked about this in your class with Miss S in history. So if you have trouble, I'm gonna put a little sheet on the board about the Pilgrims and you can use that. But I also, if you know, a few of the questions, and you can use these prompts as well from the worksheet, you can write me 2 of these and then leave them on the desk. So, and don't forget your name in your library class so I know whose it is. And then right at the end when you're done writing your questions, I want you to fill out 2 things about what you learned on your chart and then give that to me as well. And, yeah. Oh, I think I forgot to add that at transitions, I'm gonna clap and say 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. But that was an afterthought, I'm sorry, I will include that in the beginning next time. But, I think that's it. Did I go under, over?
No, under.
Oh no, really? Woo! Okay,
Do you wanna know how much time you had left?
how much time did I have left?
10 minutes.
No way!
See, it's nerve
Is that
wracking, right?
real?
I thought I did, I had like 21, I was like over, I swear, okay. I probably forgot something. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Oh, this is Molly's, so I'm gonna keep it up.
You can just
And
log out.
Sorry that this thing keeps popping up with like alerts, so that might happen to you.